yourself not to be corrupt. Meaning to say, if I will explain, your expectations are so high that we in government should not be corrupt. Our expectations are equally so high that you, the business community, should not be corrupt and should not even attempt to corrupt us. Let me tell a little bit of the background where I'm coming from, kung ano ho yung pinaghuhugutan ng salita ko. I've never been in government before. And the first time I was in government was 3 years ago when I was assigned to the Clark Development Corporation. And exactly I mentioned this there, and I said, you want us not to be corrupt? Do not corrupt us. You want us not to be corrupt? Do not bribe and dine yourself through us and gain our patronage. So that if we can have a working relationship, and I have demanded at this at the Clark Development Corporation, and some of you have experienced this with me. Wala hong regalo at any time of the day, any time of the week, any week of the month, any month of the year, any year at all, or whatever occasions. Whether it is Christmas, whether it is Valentine, the birthday of my wife, or the birthday of my girlfriend. Walang regalo at hindi namin tatanggapin, and don't even attempt. And so I said, if you do not wish us to be corrupt, you yourself must bear the burden of not seeking to corrupt us. Avoid inviting us for dinner. All of us know what happens during dinner. Like you, I was once upon a time also a businessman. Don't even invite us for dinner. If there is a need, the name of the game is simple. That's street. Let me explain. If you want permits coming from us, the perception must be such that you deserve that permit. The perception must be such that you got the permit because you are qualified, you are deserving. It should never be the perception that a permit is given you simply because you come to my office bearing gifts, inviting me for lunch, inviting me for dinner. I ask you, business community, you expect us not to be corrupt. Can we expect from you not to corrupt us? Thank you very much.
We just want to acknowledge the presence of our other secretaries, Secretary Vid Aguirre, ma'am from the DOT. Can you introduce yourselves po, and Secretary Andonar?
I'm Juan Teo, I'm the Secretary of Tourism.
I'm Ernie Abella, I'm the Presidential Spokesman.
My name is Martin Andonar. I'm the Secretary Designate for the Presidential Communications Office. Good afternoon, po.
Okay, so sir, our mechanics is that the secretaries will be throwing questions, and we want the business community to ask how they can help, or maybe how they can present reforms in the government. So we can start also with your questions. Anyone?
Ako ulit.
Okay, sir.
Just to keep the ball running and to keep the appetite. Yeah, I'll ask questions. How come when we appoint people belonging to the company which is your competitor, you try to put the appendix that there is conflict of interest? Do you get my point, sirs? I will hire people from the company which is your competitor, and then immediately we get the brand conflict of interest. Very fair, di ba?
Anyone from the business community want to answer? Please state your name, your industry, and
My name is Ben Pulumbayan. I'm an accountant. Well, the question may seem to be simple, but I think there's a cultural content in it. It means that if you say that you hire somebody from your competitor, based on our culture, there is an expectation that there will be some kind of better kind of treatment between those two parties. And I don't know what the solution is, but that's how I would try to explain it. Before you ask the question about, we want you not to be corrupt, and are we prepared not to corrupt you? I think most citizens would like to do that, but it becomes a battle of wills. Because if you're talking in terms of at your level, that will be easy to deal with. But if you talk in terms of a lower level, it becomes a battle of wills, because what you want to get from the government, you cannot get until, after a long extended period of time. So something has got to give. Either the citizen or the official. So who is it gonna be? If a person really wants to get something so badly, then you have no other choice. So maybe what we can do is the people at the top, the cabinet level, should tell those people down below that they should not be doing those things also. But the trouble is, there must be some kind of effective mechanism to make that happen. Thank you.
I can react, ma'am. That's true. What is the solution? The solution is you must learn how to trust the top in the echelons. As I said, this happens at the Clark Development Corporation before. Nobody trusted my rank and file. They said, you will be clean, but the rank and file will be dirty. You want us to police them? I'm asking you now to tell us who among the rank and file, who among our rank and file are on the take and who are making it difficult on you. The moment we ask that and we ask document, ano ho yung sasabihin? Natatakot ako, baka balikan ako eh. Again, if culture has to be addressed, that same culture will have to be equally addressed. The no corruption is a dance of music by all, with all of us dancing to the same tune. You expect us, and gladly so, at the Department of Transportation, I will do that from top to bottom. What you hear from me, they will hear from me. And I will insist that they follow me. If not, I can be very unforgiving when it comes to corruption. In the same token and way, if we do this to our people, tell your people not to corrupt any of our people of the same rank and of the same level. Madali kong sabihin na minsan, linagyan namin si rank and file B. Anak ng peteng, wala naman ibinigay. You know, that is also a reality. Oh, you have to watch out for that. The change of culture must be equally done, not only by the people in government, but equally so by people in business. I dare say this because once upon a time, sir, ladies and gentlemen, I was part of the business community.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is, how can government and industry or business work together so that benefits from technology can hasten growth, particularly in the regions?
Excuse me, I'm Menchu Serena. I'm representing Phoenix. I just want to go back to the statement of Secretary Tudane. I think yesterday it was also mentioned about, this is a long-term solution. But everything actually boils down to moral fiber. I think we have to start with education, training our children. No? I mean, formative years are 1 to 10 years old. If you go to other countries like Japan, honesty is inculcated in the children. It's long term. So we have to get people, even in government or in any other institution, that has good moral fiber. And it starts with good education and in the family. I think, we think about business, we think about all other things, but it really boils down to education and bringing our children the right way. Just a comment.
I agree, ma'am, 100%. When I joined Clark, pardon me for talking about my experience, because these are valid experiences. True, when I joined CDC, my first act of business was not to tell them what my plans and programs were. For the very simple reason that I did not have any program or plans at that time, because I never knew I would be appointed to the Clark Development Corporation. So what was the first agenda of business? It was all about culture, values, and ways of doing things. For several months I said, you better not be late. The name of the game is punctuality. I do not believe in the so-called Filipino time. Observe that, you'll get it from me. I said, this is government service. Whether you have problems at home, with your wife, with your querida, with your enemies, for so long as you are behind the desk of government service, you must learn how to smile. Very basic. Punctual and smile. I said, hindi pwede ang pwede na. And I said, hindi pwede ang corrupt. Ang sinabi ko pa ho, hindi pwede ang chismoso. Ang chismoso, pang kalaboso, ang intrigero, pang impyerno. I also told them and I required them to sing the national anthem, not hear the national anthem. I said, you have to sing the national anthem. And at the end of the phrase, nang mamatay ng dahil sa inyo, in heaven's name, you must feel that. And so it all started from the basic. I agree with you 100%. Everything must start from the basic and from the fundamental. And hopefully, from the fundamental and the basic, we can go a culture. And you can grow after having a culture, a habit. And when you have a culture and a habit, then you have a discipline. And right now, we are talking of discipline of honesty.
Can I just, very quickly, I'm Peter Perfecto, President of the Integrity Initiative. It's this club. I just want to confirm that I sang the national anthem with the incoming Secretary Duterte when he invited Integrity Initiative to the Clark Development Corporation, where he required every employee to recite also the Integrity Pledge as well and to sign the Integrity Pledge. And maybe that is the challenge to us today. When we launched the Integrity Initiative in 2010, by last April, we only had 3,000 corporate signatories. And I would think that most likely, more than half of the people here have not yet signed that pledge. So I think the challenge to us all is to sign. It may not be our integrity pledge, but I think every corporation should sign an integrity pledge and make a commitment not to bribe and to pay the right taxes from here on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please sign that. The pay the taxes bit.
Does anyone have an answer for the question on technology?
Here.
So, which one?
Middle back.
Okay. So please state your name and your industry.
René Moorman, I'm Dutch, and that's why I have to correct your remark treating the Dutch, because in Holland we say, go in American. So, a small detail, because in Holland when we go out, we share the cost. Somebody is paying for the group because he likes to do that. And when we go pay separately, we go American. So, one small thing, but back to your question about implementing all kind of technology. Well, the thing is, we live on a global world. Know-how is everywhere available, but my experience in general here in the Philippines, they don't want to pay for consultancy. They don't want to pay for know-how. So create a budget to hire know-how. It's everywhere around. And don't reinvent a wheel. That's useless.
And we would like to acknowledge the presence of Secretary Mark Villar, the DPWH.
Nice. The middle.
Just a minute.
Daniel Chica, representing the electronics industry, addressing the question of Secretary De La Peña. I agree with the previous person. Advice from consultants, but I guess in this case, my view on it is that the industry in itself has a lot of expertise, and so we can probably avail of that expertise. In fact, in a separate conversation, I've offered my services to Secretary De La Peña on a pro bono basis to be an industry advisor. But I think the other part that we can do really would be to have a partnership not just between industry and DOST, but also in other agencies of the government. What do I mean? For example, if there are companies that are willing to donate equipment and even technology to the academe, which should be a partner in this endeavor also, then maybe the Department of Finance can look at how to incentivize that and not penalize the company. Or for example, we need faster, bigger bandwidth and faster internet speed for data transfers. Maybe the new DICT can facilitate that working with DOST. So in essence, I think it's going to need partnership among not just the industry, academia, and government, but specifically the government agencies working with each other. Thank you.
Does anyone else have an answer to how we can develop technology? Sir?
All right. I'm Dr. Carl Balita. Sir, I have hosted a show in DZM and ABS-CBN for 16 years. And there is a program that I love to recommend that you intensify as the new DOST Secretary, and that's the setup, the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program of the DOST. I have been witness to how the micro and small enterprises are assisted with technology. However, the coming of Secretary Mon Lopez, who is also a champion of small and micro, should realize that even if the micro and small enterprises are upgraded in terms of their technology, there comes the need to improve the market and the market reach. The DTI's effort of creating only trade fairs for some orgasmic sales does not sustain it. And I'm therefore proposing, sir, you may look at the One Store project of the DOST, which is now trying to create a hub for all the DOST setup assisted projects all over the country. The encounter that I had with the micro enterprises when they guest in my show is fine, they already have their technology with them, but they're still groping in the dark for the markets that they can reach, not only in their areas, but also in the country and the ASEAN. That's my answer there. Thank you very much, Bob. I hope you will sustain the One Store and the setup project of the DOST. Thank you.
Is anyone else?
George C., representing the PCCI, the Federation of Filipino Chinese. We had experience with a lot of softwares and technologies being used currently by the government. I think we have to congratulate the government in the last few years for having made accessible a lot of certifications and verifications through the web, which has saved a lot of time. But on the other hand, a lot of the agencies, there is no standards or benchmarks for the way the softwares that they put in, so that they do not communicate. And each of them have to be repeated, even within the same agency. and it's taking a lot of time, a lot of money, and they're charging this for. It has been very useful if we can standardize this between the different agencies, which I guess the DICT is good for. Second is making accessible these informations to the public, and actually money can be made because businesses are willing and people are willing to be charged for these services as long as it's not too much. Third point I would like to make is that information itself is not is useful in increasing efficiency and preventing corruption to some extent. But to a lot of extent, apart from the information, maybe we can create incentive and disincentive structure, because even if you go after the personnel or organization that is deliberately delaying something, if we don't have benchmarks, so they can take forever and the cost to business is very extensive. And there's no disincentive because the worst they get is a slap in the wrist. No, in some countries, I don't know in what form, but government or the people involved, it appears to at the level of negligence, then they have to take some sort of liability or share some of the cost of that delay. But just to point out that the incentive structure is also important. Thank you.
Can I go back to the comment on education? I quite agree that education is very, very important. But I think we also appreciate the fact that education is not only the responsibility of the formal education system set up by the government. Education of a child starts in the home, in churches, in institutions, and also education is transmitted by the elders to the younger members of society, in the family, in the schools, and in the offices. I would like to emphasize this because sometimes, if a catastrophe occurs, we say the children were not educated anymore about climate change. If there is graft and corruption, they are not educated about graft and corruption. If a certain candidate gets so many million votes, it's the fault of education. Or if they are not healthy, it's the fault of education. But education is our responsibility as a society. We help educate each other, and only the role of government is to provide the formal system. I'd also like to point out that there have been reforms in the education sector which have been going on since 2012 with the inclusion of kindergarten into the formal implemented. And which leads me to my questions, since we are all asked to raise questions to our colleagues in the business sector. My question is, how can the formal educational system and the business sector work together to enrich the senior high school or pre-college program, which is now being introduced, and to make it meaningful and responsive to the needs not only of family but also to the economy and to industry. Thank you.
Anyone want to answer?
Yes, may I? In the same manner of...
Please state your name.
Bison Suwat. In the same manner of answering the question of Secretary de la Peña, if the cabinet members could just regionalize or localize this process of asking the business sector in the constituency on a regular, and even in the with the media presence, or at least on a TV, on a tri-media cover, it would be a very, very good good process for us. Synergy of the business and the scientific community, the academic and community for education. Just regionalize this process. We'll be very much thankful.
Thank you.
Can I?
Are you recognizing me?
Okay, sir. Please state your name.
Yeah, I'm Alberto Fenix Jr. I'm honorary president of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And since 2014, the PCCI established the PCCI Human Resources Development Foundation. And we have been working with the Department of Education and with TESDA precisely on trying to bring in business into the education and training system, and that they should be more active in it. And right now, in terms of the senior high school program, we have done some pilot projects in Cebu and in Batangas and in San Pedro Laguna on trying to put in a dual training system in the senior high school grades 11 and 12. And the results of those pilot projects, we will try to replicate that in the other regions of the country. So we are already working with you, Madam Secretary.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. My name is Raymar Mansinungan. I represent PCCI Pasay and the PDP Laban Camarines Norte. The question pertaining to technology and education, I think, can be answered from the sector that I think is beyond business, which is the masses itself. In yesterday's forum, this presentation discussed about internet connectivity. We have the sluggish, the slowest internet and the most expensive in Asia. And we are second to the slowest, and second to the most expensive in the world. That is in spite of the fact, but this is despite the fact that we are the texting capital of the world. If internet will be made fast and affordable, it will benefit not only the OFWs, who will be able to communicate with their loved ones at home. It will also benefit the children in the outskirts, because education, college education, may be granted available to them through internet. However, the previous dispensation has perhaps not really looked into the reasons why internet is very slow. As a matter of fact, there have been organizations in the past trying to request Congress to pass a law defining internet, or perhaps amend the law that is being used by the NTC in regulating the internet industry, which is the Telecom Policy Act, or RA 7925, which was passed in 1995. That law prohibits the development of internet, because that law states that only telcos with 300,000 landline and telcos with congressional franchise may be granted the international gateway, which is the license that is being used or that is being required to be able to buy bandwidth from the landing stations. So perhaps if you really want the business sector and the masses to work with government pertaining to the use of technology, perhaps the department should look into amending or passing a law, or requesting the President to issue an executive order defining internet as separate from that of telecom. Because otherwise, no businessman in his right mind will invest in the internet technology unless RA 7925 is amended.
Can I just add to that? This is also about the same matter. Let me just introduce myself. I'm Simeon Marfori II, former president of the Davao City Chamber, past president of the Philippine-Australia Alumni Association, and currently chapter president for A3. I'm also president and CEO of North Bank Holdings. The gentleman who preceded me made several points, no? And I think I just want to add to that. For me, I think the solution is to deregulate the telecoms industry. Whether it is in one portion only, let's say the internet, or in all its other aspects, I believe this would be good for the economy. Putting a cap, a minimum of 300,000 subscribers, for instance, is counterproductive. If you have more players, especially with the available technology today, which run already into, these are Wi-Fi's driven at 2.4 to even 3 gigahertz. No? There is already this technology, it's being used all over the world, but it's not being used in our country. There is already technology like, I'm sure those of us use Viber, Chat-On, and so forth. And this does not pass through the telecoms, but it passes through the Wi-Fi system. And if the Wi-Fi speed is increased, all the other communications can pass through that system and accelerate not just communication between private business, but government and private and government also. So the exchange of information and so forth will speed up, and that I think alone is the single biggest spur to our progress here. So deregulation for me is, I think, one of the solutions. Deregulate the telecoms industry.
May I add another question so that they will decide which question they will answer? So my question is, many of you businessmen hesitate to come to Mindanao to put up business here. My question is, what would you want the DILG to do in Mindanao so that you would want to come and invest here in Mindanao?
Excuse me, can we go back to the previous? My name is Berto Taos, I'm the president of the European Chamber of Commerce. Can we go back to the previous questions with respect to technology? I think we don't have to reinvent the wheel, as Renee said earlier. I think technology is available all over the world. Just remove all the restrictions of foreign companies coming in, and you have all the technology in the world that you would want to have in the country. It's really a simple step. Let me answer the second question also with respect to education. For us as the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, the European Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines, we have co-signed the K-12 program, and we have a number of programs within the Chamber, even our young professionals at the Chamber that have agreed with TEPED to work with the children in different schools, in different levels, to get business across to them. So I think in all aspects there is private interaction with government on education as well. So I answered the question. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Coronel Bernardo, and I would like to answer a few of the questions that were raised by the cabinet secretaries. The first one has to do with how can the private sector recommend, what can the private sector recommend in terms of using technology in government agencies. I was president of the Social Security system for 7 years, from 2001 to 2008. And you have to note that we have about 30 million members. And I heard President-elect Duterte say that he hates seeing the long lines in SSS offices. And you can imagine that we have only 5,000 or 6,000 people servicing that many numbers. So we really need technology so that they don't have to leave their homes and can be serviced from their homes through the use of technology. So I would like to request the DOST or the DICT to find a way of looking at what SSS has to continue being able to help us reduce the number of people who visit the SSS offices, because we have very few offices. You always see long lines. So that's one agency that will really need your support. The question of Secretary Briones, I would like to inform you that I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of the Philippine Business for Education, and we have done many projects that are of use to the Department of Education. So we will suggest that there be a meeting of PBED with you in the same manner that we have had meetings with Brother Armin and Chairman Tati Lipuanan. One of the projects that we have is to find good people who will want to teach and who would like to take courses in education. Because we don't like the situation where if you are not that bright, then you just take a course in education. If you are bright, then you become a lawyer, an engineer, or a doctor. We would like to encourage as many bright young people to go into teaching, because this is the best way that we can influence the good people to come out of our schools. Then my final comment has to do with the comment of Secretary Tugade about honesty in government. I used to be the head of PricewaterhouseCoopers, and if our clients would like this to be done, then we won't do that job. Or we will exert every effort to get the job done by not paying anything to anybody. I have this sad experience when I was talking to a former cabinet secretary of another administration. And we were talking about one senator that he said was on the tape. And I said, I didn't know that. But he said they had one transaction when he was still in the private sector where he had to agree to pay something to this person. However, after they have agreed on that particular deal, that senator wanted more. And I said, wow, ganun ba talaga? So he told me, ikaw, anong ginagawa mo? Sabi ko, hindi kami kasi naglalagay. So sabi niya, how can an accounting firm like yours who do consulting work not pay anybody and have your projects approved? I said, that's the reason why it takes us a long time to have our projects approved. But at the same time, we believe that we should not pay anybody. And we explain this to our clients. And in some instances, they appreciate what we're able to do. And as a result of not bribing, we get more clients because they see that we are trying to teach people lessons. But I don't know if many other organizations are in that situation. But with your assurance that your government or your administration will not do that, then that is music to our ears. But it takes a lot of moral courage for an organization to say, no client is worth our breaking our policy that we will not pay anybody. And this is how we have done things over the years. Thank you.
I am Bonita, President of Davao City Chamber.
Please tell us, sir, what you want to answer.
I would like to go back to Incoming Secretary of the OTC, Mr. Tugade. I would like to answer the issue on the so-called conflict of interest. We Mindanaoans here, both farmers, businessmen, are shippers, as being a victim for a long time on the so-called conflict of interest. Do you know that the freight cost from Davao to Manila is so high, and from Manila to Davao also is very high? That during harvest, when there are a lot of corn, the people in Manila who are in the poultry and livestock business prepare to import corn from Thailand rather than to support
the farmers in Mindanao because of the so-called very high bread cost. And when the price of oil in the world market shoot up to $100 per barrel, I believe the freight rate was adjusted. It was Marina, I think, who is monitoring the freight rate. Now that the price of oil in the world market has gone down below $50 per barrel, there was no adjustment on the freight. It so happened that for several years already, I used to attend public forum being called for by Marina with the shipping companies to increase rate. Now, what happened is conflict of interest with Marina has been penalizing people from Mindanao. These people in Marina is being appointed by the imperial government in Manila without consulting us. So, most of the time, the Secretary of Marina is being appointed from among retired corporate consultant of the shipping company. That is a real conflict of interest, which is penalizing we people, farmers, and businessmen from Mindanao. Thank you.
Just a minute, this man here.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a few things to bring up, but first is regarding technology. My question is, why is it that when a government agency computerizes, services become more expensive, and many times it takes longer? And I'm referring to titling, the Land Regulatory Administration. I am a developer, I'm into housing, and imagine sometimes just to annotate 40 titles would last 3 weeks, and it has become very, very expensive. So I would like to request the Duterte administration to look into this. Secondly, since I mentioned that I'm into housing, I would like to request the Duterte administration to please put housing into their map, into the radar screen. I cannot be more dramatic when I say that in 2011, homelessness was 3.9 million. Today, it is 5.75 million.